Testing, testing. All right, so welcome to the stream for today. 1st of April, start of a new month. So let's jump right into it. As we usually do. As you can notice, probably is that we have a new kind of color scheme, and there's a lot of upgrades to the app as well. Let's just jump into it, right? So hours of rest about 7, mental clarity around 4. Okay. So here we see there are some rules I have for myself from yesterday. If going long, wait for price to push above clear opposing liquidity level. Okay. Yeah, so basically being more kind of patient with waiting for the breakout. Yeah. And then one thing to notice is that it tends to sweep back towards the stop after my entry. So that's something that I'm kind of observing as well. And then I think let's just start with the preparation. Alright, so I'm going to go over to the trading view chart here. And then let's just transition over to there. Okay, so starting with Bitcoin, let me just clear up some of the levels from yesterday. So we can see that overnight, Bitcoin kind of has made a very nice move up on the hourly charts here. Definitely invalidating a lot of the downside momentum. And I think right now is that so long as we stay above this like 67536 level, so this I would say is the long invalidation zone. Like as long as we are like clearly above that, I would say this long setup is pretty safe. And I am kind of expecting a gradual grind up here. I mean the 4-hour and the hourly both seem to point upwards, and the daily there is still this clue here from earlier, right? This key candle high being broken. It hasn't kind of, and then there's like high volumes coming in the past few days. So all of these are pretty encouraging signs that we're going to see some kind of continuation somehow, right? So I'm currently still in a trade from yesterday from here, because after the after the kind of short setup got invalidated yesterday, there was like a good long setup around this region here, right? So I'm still in that same trade. And then what I'm looking for right now here is that I am actually looking for so I mean from here on, I think the whole narrative now is that there's a lot of fear around the whole quantum thing, right? But at the same time, you see that there's the whole situation around like how there's a lot of like bullishness around the on-chain kind of measures, like in terms of exchange supply becoming all-time lows, a lot of revival of activity around Ethereum on-chain and so on, right? And then there's the whole thing about how the Clarity Act is going to take away the interest, the ability for stablecoins to earn interest. So I think that is going to be a catalyst for more kind of like investment flow into Bitcoin as well, potentially, because of the inability for stablecoins on chain to earn interest, which will definitely channel a lot of these funds to more of the cryptocurrencies. So Bitcoin being the one that's the leader and institutionally loved, it's going to get most of their attention. And I kind of also, I mean, given that the whole industry is very fearful of the whole quantum situation right now, I do expect that there's going to be like a sharp rally, to kind of like a last hurrah kind of rally. Potentially, I would say towards the 50% level of like this whole recent move down. So I would say like potentially to the like the 92,000 kind of level. I think will be a very interesting level to observe. Could become some kind of a last hurrah towards that before it kind of like breaks down, right? longer term, if we can't get a orderly kind of exit from the quantum problems that is being created. So with all this being considered, I think there's going to be a pretty strong likelihood that we're going to see more like a some kind of rally staging up here in the next few weeks or so, regardless of the war situation. I mean, the war situation kind of will catalyze some of these things, definitely. And and one more thing is Bitcoin tends to do well when the what's that called, when the real interest rate goes negative, right? So with inflation on the horizon again, and rates coming down, nominal rates coming down, the real rates likely will turn negative sometime soon, right? So with that situation, Bitcoin tends to perform much better over time. So with all these factors coming in, I feel like there's going to be some kind of a major rally on this thing soon. And that being said, okay, so the monthly open is at so this is the monthly open. So I expect maybe we could retest this level and then consolidate above VWAP and break out. So I would say that maybe some kind of a retest in this zone, consolidation above VWAP and breakout will open up a tier 2 to tier 1 setup again for Bitcoin. Obviously I already have a trade on in this, so whatever, I'm probably gonna, if I take a trade here, it's probably gonna be a maximum of a 2R additional risk on top of it, right? So as to not to confound the risk that I'm taking onto the setups here. I'm not going to talk about Ethereum because I think Ethereum is probably a weaker candidate for longing here. I don't like Solana as well in terms of how weak it has been the past few days. Obviously, Solana is very popular on chain and everything, but it's just not something that is going to be really solid moving forward, I think. Zcash, I think, has a lot of potential, but I think yesterday has been pretty disappointing in terms of how it didn't do that well during the US session. I do think that there is going to be opportunities to long here as well. Specifically, I think, again, I think it has to cross above the VWAP for me to be interested for Zcash longs. So I'll be observing whether it crosses above the VWAP, right? So price crossing above VWAP will be interesting, yeah. And then so I added an alert there to take note. And then I would say Jupe has been really strong here, and it's giving me some interest in it again in terms of a short-term setup. So I'm seeing some kind of a triple bottom here. So the thing with Jupe is that I already have some kind of spot holdings in it, right? So I don't really want to confound too much into with leverage and everything. But definitely this is looking like a pretty strong kind of a setup overall. The way I see this is that there's probably some kind of demand near the previous weekly highs, right? So if it sweeps that level, and then recovers, I think that would be pretty nice. Yeah, if it kind of sweeps this zone here again, at the previous weekly highs. And then I'm also looking at gold. So gold has crossed above the, I would say a clear kind of invalidation, right? Of the 4 hour. So it looks like it is pretty, there's a lot of bullishness on various time frames now, all aligning here. So I'm getting a bit interested in looking at for a tier 2 trade potentially on gold. given how the geopolitics is playing out and how like the whole quantum thing also places like more emphasis on gold. Like people will want to hold physical stuff instead of like digital currencies, right? So with all that considered, I'm actually thinking that if we do see a sweep, of gold, I would say to the value area, right? There's a lot of there's a bit of I mean there's quite a bit of like things happening here obviously, but I would say this whole area here is, I would say, like value, right? If it does sweep to the value area and then kind of like goes up and recover above VWAP, I think that would be a great setup as well for gold potentially, and that will be a way to get involved like a tier 2 setup or tier 2 trade here. Yeah, so that's all I think in terms of the setups. Let's see, let's return to the other side. Yeah, so let's take a look here while we wait for the extraction of the session prep. So let's see. Okay. Yep. So you can see some of the setups here that I was talking about. Yeah, pretty good. So market looking pretty positive to the long side. Oh, there's one thing that I forgot to analyze, which I will look at it now, which is let me add a click for that. So one thing that I'm also looking at is actually I would say it's actually US 500, right? So it's coming close to the trend line that I've been eyeing for a long time, which is interesting because that is where the level, remember I was talking about this in the previous streams. So I do think that we're going to see some interesting reactions here. But a few things to know, right? I think number one is like, don't FOMO into a short right at the trend line. Wait for the momentum shift to happen. Again, you know, we don't fade the intraday trend momentum, right? We want to stay along, like we want to stay aligned with it. But this brings into a very interesting situation here, because I do think that so obviously I think the level to break for bulls will be like these zones here, right? So I think this level to break, so bulls have to, I mean bears have to get rid of these levels here, right? And then that will kind of open up the downside a lot more, and then I think generally speaking, I mean this candle here looks ominous, but I mean it'd be interesting if it goes up and then it comes back down again, right? That would be pretty cool. Not cool, but like interesting setup. Yeah, I do think that overall on the, like if I look at the higher time frames, there's still a lot of supply here, right? It can't get above this zone yet. This trend line is being respected, right? And 1 hour is bearish, right? And then yeah, I think I'm looking for a way to position into this trade. I think given how this is at right now, before these levels are broken, it is a tier 3 kind of tier 3 to tier 2. If and when these levels get broken and we still see a valid setup, that would, in my opinion, be a tier 1 level trade already. Yeah. Alright, so I think that's all for that. Let me just get that into the setup as well. Right, so Bitcoin, the invalidation will be below 67.5k. Chill on longs, right, and then US 500 is consistently trading above trend lines, inability to break below those key levels, right, opens up T1 ETH break. And then for Zcash, above, below VWAP, no longs. And then finally for Juke, reclaim of, if failed to reclaim previous week high, no longs. Yeah. So I think that's the main things here that I have, right? And then let me just make sure that I add some of these things to my watch list. And then let's do the center ring together for the day. Alright, so that's it. Hope everyone has have a good session ahead, and we will continue next time. TBTY.